Disney's CEO, the mousy messiah himself, Bob Iger, has finally been defeated at the box office. And who is it? What white knight has come in full stride to defeat the unvarnished, unblemished chief executive of the century? Well, none other than who the Holly Weirds absolutely hate, David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers. He's taking laps of victory over Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back yet again. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve is what we do. Explaining entertainment is our forte in a way that drives the Holly Weirds even more towards insanity. Folks, as we get ready to dive in, click the like button. David Zaslav is on a tear. He's winning. Bob Iger not. And the Hollywood media not interested in covering this accurately. But just like so often, we're going to force their hands. Folks, help us send this out across YouTube. The like button is your friend. And comment down below and let us know, what movies have you seen this year? Which ones? Disney movies or Warner Brothers movies? We'd love to know from you. All right, folks, let's go to thatparkplace.com. If you're not yet bookmarked to the website, well, you should be. And we've got an exclusive right here. David Zaslav shocks Hollywood by beating Bob Iger's Disney at the box office, even after predictions of doom. This is the story you need to know. Guys on the panel, let me just say, how often in the last year have we seen that David Zaslav is done at Warner Brothers? He's going to be kicked out. He's no good. He's a nightmare. He's a total failure. And Bob Iger is the mousy messiah. What are you guys talking about? Bob Chapek had to go, all this stuff. It turns out that just like in so much of the things we pay attention to in the world, what the press has been telling us was completely reversed from the reality that came to be.
That's a good rule of thumb, by the way. Just whenever you're reading the press, it's just flip it.
Makes me feel great about about the world. Here we go. Remember when David Zaslav was a buffoon CEO in need of being fired? Remember when Bob Iger was declaring that Disney was about to have their best box office run since 2019? We do. And we're reminded of just how much and how quickly times can change. Through Labor Day and into early September 2025, Warner Brothers has edged past Disney in the domestic box office race on the strength of a remarkably balanced slate, family four-quadrant plays, a rejuvenated DC tentpole, prestige, action, and a red-hot horror run. The numbers year-to-date studio ledger shows Warner Brothers leading domestic market share and grosses $1.68 billion ahead of Disney at $1.53. And yet that's despite the fact that Warner Brothers has released fewer films than Disney. Marvin, do you recall what the total is? How many has Disney released versus Warner Brothers?
I'm not 100% sure, but I know that Warner Brothers did just set a record as being the first studio ever to have 7 consecutive films open above $40 million.
Amazing. Guys, I would say that there's 3 ways we can see that Disney is winning, okay? First of all, on the per movie average.
Warner Brothers,
apologies. Thank you for fixing that, Marvin. I got the loop-de-loop on that. Warner Brothers is winning on the per movie box office average. They have to be because they've released far fewer films. And Jonas, will you look that up for me real quick? Get the number on how many films Warner Brothers has released this year versus Disney.
Well, if we're talking releases, 7 distributed, it's a lot more. And Disney's 11, and the last time I checked, Warner Brothers was at 7, maybe 8, updated after the coverage we did a couple of days ago.
Right. So Warner Brothers is beating them by the box office average, but also, and this is the key thing, guys, these Warner Brothers movies cost way less than the Disney movies. And I would bet, I don't know this to be, I can't guarantee it, but I would bet that Disney is actually operating at a loss right now at the box office. Marvin, I saw you agreeing on that. What are your thoughts on the idea that it's not just that Warner Brothers is beating them in the total number, it's that if we could see the profit versus loss here, that it would be night and day.
Yeah, so I did a editorial about this yesterday on that Park Place also, where I basically made the point that like Warner Brothers right now, it's the tortoise and the hare, right? Because Disney has these big explosions, which I call peaks and valleys. It has, all of a sudden Lilo and Stitch does over $1 billion, but then we have Thunderbolts, then we have Fantastic Four, then, then like a big animated tentpole will come out, and then we have Elio, and then we've got things like that. Warner Brothers, however, is consistent, slow and steady wins the race as it continues to go on. And here's the thing. People too often look at box office gross as the measure of success for a studio. And anyone that's ever owned a business or been in any kind of business can tell you it is not about how much you make. It is about how much you make juxtaposed to how much you spent. That's why Superman, James Gunn's Superman, is actually 3 times more profitable than Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, which makes that the more successful movie, despite the fact that it made less at the box office. So a movie that costs $50 million to make, that has a break-even point of, let's say, 150, that makes $400-500 million is more successful than a Disney superhero film with an $800 million break-even point that makes $1 billion.
Right. What a fantastic analysis.
Thank you. Yeah. Nobody ever looks at that. The accountants look at it. The accountants decide who the winner is.
Right. Well, the third way that I think that Disney is losing to Warner Brothers is in the PR play. Christian, if we go to what they were saying about Disney not so long ago, this is what Bob Iger had to say and was carried by the Hollywood Reporter. And you'll remember this. This came out earlier this year. Bob Iger said, I have a lot of confidence that I have a lot of confidence in our upcoming slate. A little bit out of context there where we got to fix the grammar. But anyway, he said, and then pretty much listed all of them out individually. Other films Iger singled out for having his attention endorsement are Pixar's Elio, The Fantastic Four First Steps, Tron Ares, Zootopia 2, Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, coming later in 2025. That's on, we can go. I'll click on the link here and show folks so they can go see it. This is the original article. Bob Iger says Disney's film slate in the next 18 months is its best since 2019. Well, we're into this now, Christian. And the other way that Zaslav is winning is that Bob Iger has made these sort of buffoonish statements that turned out to be totally farce. So what do you think about, how is the media going to cover this going forward? Because they hate Zaslav for reasons that would take a long time to explain, but they hate him. And they love Bob. And yet, here we are, and David Zaslav seems to be saving the cinemas.
Yeah, I mean, I think the saving grace for Disney is going to be Avatar. Those movies just print stacks of money. So I think that will help them immensely. But, look at Fantastic Four First Steps just did not bring it like they thought. And it was fairly well reviewed. And I think it was accepted among many fans, but it's not going where superhero films once did. Partly that's China's fault, obviously. But also, Tron Ares is not going to do well. I'm sorry. That is not a... I
am so glad somebody's saying that.
Yeah, listen, the trailer looks great. I didn't mind the first sequel. I don't see the fan base there.
Right.
The last movie made a ton of money.
It's not a pop culture. It's not at the top of the zeitgeist. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Although my only caveat there is I really didn't come anywhere close to predicting that the Conjuring film, the last one, would do anything like it did. So, the old William Goldman line, nobody knows anything about Hollywood, is always applicable, but I just don't see it.
Did you ever, Christian, did you ever think in your life that a horror movie would beat a Marvel film? The Conjuring beat Thunderbolts, domestic opening versus domestic opening.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. It was 1 or 2 years ago where Sound of Freedom beat Indiana Jones and Fast and Furious, I think it was 10 or something. Multiple big, maybe even the last Mission Impossible too, one of the previous ones. So anything can happen. But yeah, but listen, having Avatar at your back is huge. I find that whole franchise fascinating because it makes all the money, and yet there's zero cultural heft. I don't see Avatar backpacks. I don't see people talking or caring about those movies, but those movies are just roller coaster rides. And you go to the theater and you have a grand time, even though they're dumb, even though it's sort of preachy. They're just an experience, but It doesn't have the cultural cachet, but it's going to make a zillion dollars.
So one of the things I got to say too is
that's a great point about Disney, though. There are so many items that have cultural cachet that Disney has the rights to. I mean, they've spent the last 15 years buying up anything that has cultural relevance that they can get their hands on, but no one shows up to the box office. But we're all hyper aware of the little quirks of a show like The Acolyte.
Yeah.
But Avatar, it was kind of Fern Gully-ish. It was kind of Pocahontas. It was kind of Peter Pan-ish. I don't know. But that made $1 billion. That was for a while the highest grossing film of all time. It's fascinating.
I wonder with Avatar 3 if they're going to face the China problem, because China gives Avatar a lot of its box office. And if this new thing with China comes through, I'm wondering if Avatar 3 might... look, it would be par for the course because I believe Avatar 2 made less than Avatar 1. And if Avatar 3 makes less than Avatar 2, then maybe the world is starting to heal, because there's nothing redeeming about these films other than that they look very pretty.
Yeah.
Which is not a hard thing to do anymore. I've never understood it, but I mean, horror movies are having a major moment this year. That's the thing, because you can have, when you have one major hit like Disney's had this year, and then a bunch of bombs and maybe a few like, you know, mid-tier successes, that's not as good as having, you know, 7 steady, solid performers that maybe they're not like, you know, massive $1 billion films, but they're pulling a major profit. So obviously what Hollywood is going to learn from this is every movie now needs to be a horror movie, and they should cost $300 million to make.
Yeah, well, let me ask you guys this question. I'm going to pick your brain on this, because I kind of see this as a win. The idea that David Zaslav had absolutely no support in the legacy media, yet his strategy paid off and there was nothing they could do about it. Bob Iger has every single, you know, part of institutional power he can possibly hope for to push him across the line, and it failed. It seems to me that the market has completely woken up to what's been going on. They're going to make their own decisions, and you can't sway them anymore. And I think that's a win, and I think it actually plays out what we've been saying was going to happen.
Yeah.
It also shows that the mainstream media doesn't have the power to change hearts and minds, to influence opinions like it once did. And by the way, back to Warner Bros. Real briefly, they started the year with Mickey 17, which is awful, and then the Alto Nights, which is unwatchable. So they kind of dug themselves a hole, and they just bounced right out of it. So good on them.
Yeah. Also worth pointing out that the last Conjuring film had a 2.6x legs, whatever you want to call it, multiplier from its start at the box office to the end at the box office. So there's a possibility that Conjuring Last Rites, the current one, could outperform Fantastic Four by the time it gets to the end of its run.
There's another thing to look at here, and that is that Warner Brothers films doing better domestically than Disney is a much bigger deal than the global box office, because the studios keep more of their money for domestic ticket sales, as opposed to things like China or Russia, where you have to pay a premium to have your movies in those locations. So that's another part of this slow and steady wins the race mentality. And David Zaslav has been kind of dragged down underwater a lot because of like things like, you know, the cable networks and things like that are failing. But once Warner Brothers splits off, you know, and just has the movies and streaming division over here, that David Zaslav is the one that's running, he's going to, I think, very quickly become the most successful CEO in Hollywood from an undeniable standpoint.
You think CNN is currently pulling him down?
Oh, without question, CNN, TNT, TBS, those are all pulling David Zaslav underwater right now.
Oh.
I forget which side. Is CNN one of the brands that's staying with the studios division, or are they selling that off to the? That's going
with the cable TV stuff.
Poor Ted Turner. Ted Turner.
That's fascinating, and there's more moves on that to follow on the cable side of things. When it's all said and done, it's funny that Zaslav will essentially be a part of Discovery, buying Warner Brothers, and then he's going to sell off Discovery from the new boat that he got. And then, of course, there's like 20% of the company that's going with it, and they're already in talks to sell that part of the studios division. I think this is from a business standpoint, what he was able to turn around here is fascinating. All the while watching as everyone's saying, no, you're doing it wrong. No, you're doing it wrong. No, you're doing it wrong. While we look at what a lot of the other studios are offering up, and it's just meh. We've moved past the superhero film for the most part.
But don't worry, folks. Bob Iger will be back at the next shareholders meeting, I'm sure, to tell you that the upcoming slate is the best since the dawn of cinema. And the media will dutifully cover it as if nothing was ever said wrong by the mousy Messiah before. It is such fun getting to spend time together, folks, but we have come to the end of yet another video, well, that makes the mainstream scratch their heads, pull their hair out, and wonder how is it we continue to do what we do. But you know what we do this for? It's for you. To keep bringing all the knowledge of entertainment, explaining what's going on in Hollyweird each and every day. And you can help us continue on that way by clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. Share this out on your favorite social media platforms, and we would love to have you drop a comment right on down below. Share your thoughts because, well, your thoughts truly do matter, and we mean it. As we get ready to say goodbye, we end with the common refrain. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Jump into the water.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun.
Want it all, so I give them cannonball. Yeah.
Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio.
Arizona. Pineapple pizza, Hawaiian ice freeze, yeah. Can't wait to be up. 3 days of you and me.
What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.